Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today with me is Jill. Jill, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and share about what you do?
Yes, thank you so much for having me today, Gleb. My name is Jill Koziol. I am co-founder and CEO of Motherly. Motherly empowers 40 million women every month on the journey of motherhood from conception to college.
Excellent. And tell me a little bit more about how AI is impacting your business. I know it's changing your business in a number of ways. Tell me more about the impact here.
So AI is obviously the hot word, and frankly, I know a lot of people are probably tired of hearing about it lately. I do think it's important to look at how it's changing media as a whole. Motherly is largely a media platform connecting with our audience across a multi-platform approach, but all digital media oriented. And it's having significant impacts on our business. To start, as an expert-driven platform, Motherly is having to protect our content from other scraping tools that are there and that are trying to effectively steal our content and our IP. And then share that out with outsourcing. And so what we've had to do, and what I believe increasingly other publishers will do, is actually put our content, that expert-driven content, behind a wall. And so for us, it's a free registration wall that we put up behind all of our parenting content. And it is going to be the price that consumers and audience members have to pay to get to true expert content that is something that they can trust and verify, that is sourced ultimately. So that is one. Number two, it is changing how users are getting their information. For media, this is incredibly important. Of course, we've seen social significantly change the way users get information. Video has become increasingly important. And now we're seeing users get their content and their information from a multitude of sources. And I think it does threaten expert-driven content in that way, because I think we live in a time of disinformation, and I think it's dangerous to consumers of content, that it will be hard to find what the sources of information are, and that we have a responsibility as publishers and to protect that content that is in fact expert-driven, so that our users know that they can trust us when they come to the content.
So I guess there's a challenge there, because of course you want to drive users to the content, including through generative AI, because generative AI right now is increasingly including links to the content. So presumably, if it got some content from Motherly, it would include a link. But you are deciding that that's not the way you want to go. You want to protect your content from being accessed by AI, and therefore from linking users to your content from AI, from various AI chatbots that have internet connection.
Yes, so we do think it's pleasant and encouraging to see that more links are being included in the results. However, we do believe that content is not just the king, it's the kingdom. It is the most important thing out there, and that when you value your content and what you're creating for your brand, that there is a rationale behind creating a wall for that, so that actual users are getting that content and finding access to it. Motherly also, as a way of serving our audience, is also launching our own AI-powered coach, parenting coach. And that coach you're able to engage with. We've named it Quinn. It's powered by Vernique, an amazing AI company. And it is only pulling on content from Motherly's thousands of articles, content that we know are expert-driven. And so it's not just about creating a walled garden and protecting your content from others, but it's also keeping up with the technology and leveraging it to answer the questions of your audience in a quicker, more effective manner. And then, of course, yes, also it's changing media in the sense that our editors and our content team are going to be finding ways to create content more in a more inexpensive way, but that also still holds true to our brand guidelines and guardrails.
So how will you be using AI to create new content to serve the users of Motherly?
Well, to start, one of the things, let's even back up a second here. So often in the past, AI and other technologies have not really taken into consideration women and mothers at the foundation for that. Mothers and women make 85% of the purchase decisions in the US, at least. They are foundational to society. They are leading the next generation and creating the next generation. And so we really believe that it's critical that mothers are able to be at the center of the development and innovation around how to leverage AI, and that motherhood tools are things that can kind of bring those two together and build for them. And so with Motherly and with AI, what we've been able to do with Quinn is to solve what we believe are some of the problems with today's current iteration of AI. One, we don't know if we can always trust it. So the fact that we're only looking at Motherly's content helps for our users to know that they can in fact trust it. Number two, it is personalized. And so this is really important also. Our users, when they onboard, they tell us a little about themselves, including the age of their children and the stage of motherhood that they're in. And so when Quinn is engaging with them, we know a little bit about them, and it can get smarter and it can start to customize and personalize that experience for them. And then the last is just the voice and tone that it uses. Motherly's voice and tone in our brand is very, very well known and beloved. And so we've been able to train this technology to respond in Motherly's approach that is empowering and non-judgmental. And so pulling those things together and then having it get smarter and learn about the individual while still keeping it constrained to our data that we know is accurate and evidence-based is a way that we're solving this problem.
Interesting. Now, more broadly, how do you see generative AI impacting the audience segment of mothers more broadly within Motherly, but also more broadly, how are mothers actually engaging with generative AI, positively and negatively?
Right. So again, I think there are always two sides to every technology or innovation, and I like to focus on the positives of that. I do believe we see this in our state of motherhood data that we run every year. We run the largest statistically significant study of mothers every year in the US. And we see that mothers are overwhelmed. 85% more every year say that they are burnt out. The mental load of motherhood in the United States is very, very high, especially for working mothers. And so we believe that AI can help solve some of those problems. The innovation, the acceleration of change is very, very rapid. And we believe that if technologists and innovators will build tools that have mothers and their needs at the center of it, we can get to real greatness. We can, as an example, I have a colleague who is a lacrosse coach for her child's team of 6-year-olds, I believe, or 8-year-olds. And she is able to, instead of planning out the entire lessons for that, she can ask AI to come and help her do that and pull that together. So I think to the extent that artificial intelligence is helping us to get smart fast and to get more efficient and save time, that will help mothers. That said, that should not be an excuse for the government and for employers and society as a whole to not invest in ways to reduce the mental load of motherhood and parenthood. But I do believe that we're going to see meal planning and scheduling and all of these innovations and tools that every mom and every parent, frankly, needs. I think we'll see those actually come to fruition now.
Interesting. So this overwhelming burden of motherhood, we know that fertility rate has been dropping in the US. And that has definitely been a challenge, and partially because mothers are burdened and overwhelmed. Women are burdened and overwhelmed. So do you think AI will help address the dropping fertility rate by making motherhood easier?
That is not going to be a silver bullet, unfortunately. I'd love if it were, but I don't believe it will be a silver bullet. In today's economy, we really need 2 working parents, a dual income family in most cases in the US, except for, the very wealthy. And that's just to make ends meet. And so that requires that if you have children, that you have childcare. And so I would say that the crux of this problem is actually childcare and the lack of affordable, accessible, high quality childcare in this country. A parent needs all three. They maybe get two, but really very rarely, almost impossible to get all three. And so AI is not going to solve the problem of caring for our children. So it may help develop tools for training caregivers, for making the high quality side of it better. It may help for arranging childcare share programs and make those things more accessible. But I don't believe that in the near term, at least, that we're going to see AI actually caring for our children. And so this requires a much larger intervention. And I believe at the governmental and at the employer level, mothers and parents as a whole are being asked to nurture in a society that does not nurture them back. In 1971, Richard Nixon vetoed a bill that had passed both the House and the Senate, calling for affordable childcare and government-run childcare that is much more aligned with other developed countries, and he vetoed it. And since then, we've only seen more of a need to have women in the workforce just for their families to survive. And so I would say that we are not going to solve the mental load of motherhood until we solve childcare, affordable, accessible, high-quality childcare. And frankly, there's a lot of other structural challenges, paid family leave, a lot of challenges also just with like gender norms and roles inside our country and our society that lead to mothers always being the default parent, regardless of her status as a breadwinner.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, thank you for sharing your expertise. That's been very helpful. As you think about the future, what do you think will be the impact of generative AI on motherly and more broadly on motherhood?
I think it's still evolving. I think we have a lot of ethical questions to answer as a society related to AI. But as an entrepreneur and as a mother, I tend to be an optimist and hopeful for the future. I do think that we are on the cusp of a lot of innovation and a lot of solutions that have been long overdue being able to come to the foreground. And whether it be new apps and new technologies that are consumer facing that solve these problems, or perhaps it is actually coming up with the data and analyzing the data and the outcome of programs like universal childcare in this country. I do think that there will be ways in which we can leverage this technology to push forward to society and helping to support mothers across the board.
Well, I hope you're right, Jill. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps others discover the show and helps us improve the show.